with those ground instructions, I think let's begin. So I understand that you all are able to see the slide. Yes, no, at least those whose cameras are on, nod your head so that I can get to see.
It is visible.
Yes, all right, great. Great. So as the title says, it's about students' learning experiences, educational experiences, and we are going to focus on learning ecology. Uh, what exactly do we mean? We'll go into the depth in a while. However, I just wanted to give you a kind of overall picture about what do we mean here. So through this learning ecology, what we mean is that understanding. See, whatever behaviors that students are engaged into, these behaviors are not in isolation. Collectively, as instructors, as educators, and as an institution, as university, we design this learning experiences. So in a way, students experience this entire ecology in which they learn or they don't learn anything. So when we think that, hey, students are not really learning anything, they are just passing the test, but they are not really learning anything. So then it means that the design that we have put them through, that design is not effective. So broadly speaking, that's broadly what we are going to talk about today. But and at IIM we like to experiment with pedagogies, learning methods, teaching methods. So today we are going to also experience a little bit of storytelling plus case study method. Okay, and this is also many of you may already be using this, but then for some of you it can be also new experience of understanding newer aspects. So let's begin with this one sort of small case of a college professor. So let's say, so you all are aware of what UGC is about and what state university systems are. So I'm not going to discuss that, but then broadly speaking, in universities and in colleges, we have kind of centralized exam systems. And mostly in order to graduate, you have to pass this exam, and then that's how you can crack the university exams. So, and then mostly across India, right? So every semester students have to take this centralized exams. So that's how they can move on to the next semester. So this case is about this Professor Sonal, who teaches in a B.Ed college, in a college of education. So Professor Sonal is one of the most favorite. She is quite popular among students. And then this is a fictional college. All right, so we are not going to name any institute. So that's why I put this college name. It's called Vastrapur College of Education. Actually, there is no such college. So this is a college, let's assume. And then Professor Sonal teaches there. On average, students score much higher in Professor Sonal's class than any other classes at this particular college. And her teaching and learning, the way she does it, because of that, students tend to achieve really good score. And then in past couple of years, they also had some of the university rankers. All right, so why this happens? So let us now go deeper into what is it that Professor Sonal does. She's very hardworking. She prepares detailed sort of notes for almost all topics covered in the syllabus, and then she shares this notes with the students as well. That's what she does. In addition to that, in the class, when she is going through the content, her PPTs actually cover almost all content points. So the PPTs are also very thorough. And then at times, sometimes, we all know the time constraints, and especially after this introduction of semester system, a lot of people always struggle with teaching time. So the Professor Sonal also goes through the same. So what she does, she sometimes arranges extra classes to cover some of the topics which she could not discuss during the class time. In addition, in the past, she has also conducted some pre-exam classes. You know, sometimes in many of the universities and colleges, before the final semester exam, you have some maybe couple of weeks off for students reading, and then so the students can study. So Professor Sonal will also organize some of this, you know, before pre-exam sort of review sessions, where you know within this 2 days she would kind of cover the entire content, and then it's kind of intensive review students can get, and that has also helped students achieve really high scores.
Right, online only.
All right, Shreya Gowda, I can hear your voice. Do you have any
Okay.
comment? Oh, okay. So now let's say if Professor Sonal and you know her teaching is generating some results, you know students are getting really good scores. So if you were principal, you would also be quite happy, right? So the principal of this college is quite happy with her work and wants other teachers also to follow similar methods of teaching and learning. Things are clear up till this point, right? That's what I understand. Okay, so now imagine that you join this college as a new faculty member. You are a new faculty member, you join this college, and the principal assigns Professor Sonal as a mentor for you. So she is now your mentor, and then principal also asks you to adopt her teaching methods. So now what will be your response to the principal? That is the question for you. Anybody wants to volunteer, or I can just pick up any name and ask you to respond? Who wants to volunteer first? Anyone? I understand the professors like to talk a lot, so that's why I designed this interactive session. Yes, so anybody wants to
Sir,
say?
we want.
Yes, Harish ji.
Yes, I want to take suggestions from principal, and I'm ready to follow the Sonal's professor's techniques, sir.
Okay. So Harish sir is saying that yeah, he is willing to be open to principal suggestion and then learn from Professor Sonal. Okay, so that is fine.
Yes.
Anybody who also thinks the same, that yes, it can be a good idea to adopt to Professor Sonal's methods. Anyone other than Mr. Harish sir? Anybody else wants to share anything? Anybody who is against this, who thinks that no, 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 Professor Sonal, whatever she wants, she can do. I'm not going to do that. Anybody thinks like that?
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Yes, yes.
Uh, in the beginning, I tried to understand what Mrs. Sonal is going to teach me, and then I would like to go further with some other things like.
So, what problem do you see? Any problem here? Ma'am, your name, please.
So,
Ma'am, can I know your name, please? It
Mantha
says
Padma.
Mantha Padma. So, yeah, Padma, ma'am. So, what is there any problem? Why you don't? Why you want to do something different?
In the beginning, I would like to know what Mrs. Sonal is going to teach me. If I could not understand her, then I go ahead with some other suggestions like repeating or something else like that, or anything as a student, which I
Okay.
feel.
Okay, right. Because her methods, you know, it's kind of given here that she prepares detailed notes, she covers all the points in the class, she explains quite well. It's thorough discussion of all the contents. So she also shares the notes with the students, all of that. Okay, so now if I can pick anyone, okay. So what do you think is Mr. Bimal sir here, Bimal Kumar sir?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I am Dr. Bharati Bedi from
Yes,
Karnataka, sir.
yes, ma'am.
सर वो सोनल मैडम का जो टीचिंग मेथड्स है ना,
Yes.
वो कभी हमको हमारे सब्जेक्ट उनका उनका वो अपने सब्जेक्ट से जो टीचिंग मेथड्स अप्लाई कर सकती है तो वो एडजस्ट हो जाएगा। अगर हमारे सब्जेक्ट में जो हम टीचिंग मेथड्स अप्लाई करते हैं ना सर, तो वो सिमिलर होगा तो हम उसको अप्लाई कर सकते हैं सर। नहीं
Okay.
तो क्या है, चेंजेस भी ले सकते हैं ना सर टीचिंग मेथड्स में।
So क्या चेंज कर सकते हैं, क्या चेंज आप करेंगे, लेट्स से?
नहीं सर, टीचिंग मेथड्स मींस मेथड्स आर सेम, बट उसका जो हम उसको कार्य रूप में जो लाते हैं ना सर,
हाँ,
वो क्या होता है, थोड़ा चेंजेस होता है ना सर।
राइट। सो कंटेंट तो चेंज होगा, जैसे कि अगर वो एजुकेशन पढ़ा रहे, आप अगर साइंस पढ़ा रहे, तो आपका कंटेंट साइंस का होगा, दैट आई अंडरस्टैंड। बट ओवरऑल मेथड में कुछ आप चेंज करना चाहेंगे? अगर करना चाहेंगे तो क्या होगा वो चेंज?
ओके, एक्सप्लेनेशन जो हमारे हिसाब से जो एक्सप्लेनेशन देते हैं और हम जो पॉइंट्स देते हैं और नोट्स देते हैं, वो सभी कुछ क्या होता है सर, चेंजेस में आ जाता है सर।
Okay, okay. Yeah, I thank you for sharing your idea. Is Priyanka ma'am here? Priyanka Chatterjee?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, आपका do you have any thoughts on this case?
Sir, as the person before me said that I would first, of course, observe her work because she has been referred to by the highest authority. And then maybe after that, according to what I am teaching, if I think I need to modify a little or add a little, I'll go proceed accordingly after that.
Okay. All right. So there is also one hand from Jijabai Kankane. Yes, please.
Hello, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Dr. Manjula Saudati from Belgaum, sir, Karnataka.
Yes.
Sir, according to as per her Sonal ka teaching performance, look at the different methods sir we have to teaching in the classroom, sir. We have to like principal they have to told she is very well to teaching method and referring. Actually, almost all teachers are referring for different methods, sir. But in this case, many students or anybody to student to adopt her teaching methods, quality other than quantitative methods she is referring in the classroom. It is better to we have to means what maintain for the students whether they are to understand or not, sir. Able to her teaching methods, sir.
Okay. So again,
Yes.
so is
Yes,
there
sir.
anything you would like to change in this, or you will be fine with following her method?
No, actually several messages are there, sir. Account as per her teaching, just like to go through in a student level to what we have to teach. For example, suppose I have to teach in depth. According to teaching level is there, we have to go for in medium level. Students are very rich to concentrate in the classroom, sir. Whatever you have to teach, they have become to very to follow the some few knowledgeable teaching methods, sir. That's it, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
एक और हाथ ऊपर हुआ था, hand raised by I think Mr. Mokhau Gangmei. आप कुछ कहना चाहेंगे?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As far as this question is concerned, it is focused mainly on getting marks, and so if we have to focus on quality education, we should not so much concentrate on scoring marks or scoring grades. And so depending on this situation, if we are to focus only on grades, then I would not encourage it. However, if getting this grade also means getting a quality education, then I would endorse it.
Okay, very interesting point. It is just that, sir, आप थोड़ा you are distinguishing between quality education and getting good grades. So why is that
Yes.
different? So what will you do differently?
Okay. In other words, Professor Sonal ways of teaching might be concentrated more on getting grades without having much of an application. If that is the case, then I would not endorse our way of teaching.
So then what will you do? What will you do differently?
I would rather like to engage the student more in application or in practical life, rather than focusing on getting higher marks.
Okay, so Gangmei, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Gangmei, sir?
Yes, yes.
Has raised an important point here, which is that Professor Sonal, it seems like, can be focusing on the exams and the results.
So,
and yeah, can you hear me? I think everybody can hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if you are focusing a lot on the results and on the exams, then it is possible that you avoid talking about application of knowledge, or you avoid going into the depth, right? So that can happen, and let us see why that can happen, because many of you also experience this. Okay, so current scenario क्या है teaching learning का? Current scenario is something like this. Across universities in India, this is not specific to any one college or any one university. This is an overall pattern across institutions, higher education especially in India. And to be frank, even at school level, the similar things are happening. So this is that overall pattern. Now, I am not saying कि हर जगह पे ऐसा होता है. Okay, to be frank, a lot of institutes and a lot of universities are doing much better job. But I am just presenting an overall pattern. So in overall pattern, what happens? That university exams, tend to focus on lower levels of cognition. In Bloom's taxonomy, there is level of cognition, knowledge level, understanding level, then going application level, then going into the analysis, synthesis, and evaluation, judgment, right? So in this deeper levels of cognition, so mostly university exams will focus on knowledge and understanding level, which is kind of superficial level of cognition. Or now you all have faculty members mostly, so it is not a secret कि mostly students exam prepare करने के लिए क्या करते हैं? They look at last 5-10 years का exam papers, okay, so that they get a good idea of what the questions are or can be, and once they understand that okay, these are the type of questions that will appear on the exam, this in the upcoming year almost 80-90% similar questions आएंगे. So हर एक question के लिए they start preparing model response. So in the middle sort of bucket, you see student learning methods. So in the name of learning, students are क्या रहे हैं, उसको थोड़ा बारीकाई से सोचे. Think about that in under the microscope. So if you think through that, so you realize students actually either they are preparing some model response, okay, for all possible questions, जो भी questions होंगे सबके model response either वो बना रहे, or else second point is they are practicing reproduction of those model responses without looking at the source. कि एक बार वो एक क्वेश्चन हुआ, उसका उनके पास मॉडल रिस्पॉन्स रेडी है, so they read it, they close that source, they try to write all the points. If they are able to reproduce all the points, they move on to the next topic. But if they are not able to reproduce all the points, वो फिर से पढ़ेंगे. So they reread the same thing until they actually memorize all the points. Why? Because in the university exams or semester exams or college exam, key to success, you know, यहाँ पे red color में बताया है that key to success is reproduction of this model response or model text in timely manner, right? So mostly you have 3 hours, 100 marks या 70 marks का paper. So ये within 3 hours you have to reproduce all this model text जो भी आपके model responses बनाए हुए थे या learning material available था उसमें था. So वो आपको लिखना है. You have to rewrite all that text without looking at the source. Yeah, honestly करो, but again that's the idea of success. That is how you can score very well on the exam. Now the point is, so if you need to do, if that is the success criteria, so then no matter, see, whatever we talk about, all the great things about, you know, teaching, learning, pedagogy and all of that, what students end up doing under the name of studying is actually this. They will be spending time preparing this model responses or practicing reading, rereading, rewriting again and again to, unless they actually memorize all the points of their answer. Because अगर ऐसे 4 मार्क का क्वेश्चन है, 8 पॉइंट्स है, तो आपको 8 पॉइंट्स लिखने हैं. If you miss out 2, so you end up getting, you know, 6 marks out of 3 marks out of 4 marks, right? So you're good students, you're very good students of our system. This is what they end up doing, and that is the most efficient method of learning for them. ऐसा नहीं है कि this is all bad और ये सब बेकार है, ऐसा नहीं है, because you and I, we all are also from the same system. So this itself is not wrong, but the point is, because this is also going to require some sort of memorization. Now memorization can be with understanding, and to be frank, most of us must have also understood the concepts. Okay, हमने समझे भी होंगे और उसके बाद हमने थोड़ा memorization किया होगा, and that's how you could have been, आप में से भी कई, let's say university rankers होंगे या फिर अपने department के बहुत अच्छे students रहेंगे, स्कूल में बहुत अच्छा किया होगा आपने, but because you memorize with understanding. But sometimes in the system that we have designed, you can also get really good score without understanding, and that is called rote learning. Rote learning is nothing but memorize तो हो गया, but अभी coach भी understanding नहीं हुआ. There is no conceptual understanding, right? But you are able to produce all those 8 points in timely manner, and that's how you can get really good scores. So आपके as a faculty member, you would also experience this. आपने experience already किया भी होगा कि काफी ऐसे भी बच्चे हैं जो पास तो हो जाते हैं, कई बार फर्स्ट क्लास भी लेके आते हैं, but उसको fundamental question पूछो and then the person is clueless because the person has memorized without understanding. And to be frank, that is the core problem in our entire education system, especially when it is about learning ecology of students. तो इसमें प्रॉब्लम क्या होता है? When students graduate, so after graduation, is there a single job which is going to pay you some money to reproduce some text written somewhere in timely manner? ऐसी एक भी जॉब है क्या कि यहाँ पे जो लिखा है वो यहाँ पे बगैर देखे लिख लो and then we are going to pay you, let's say, 1,000 rupees. There is not a single job for that skill, right? So there is not a single job for people who graduate without understanding, because they are not skilled. They do not have the knowledge and skills. Or this is not one isolated case. Just to give you some statistics, India produces almost 13 to 15 lakh engineers every year. Okay, as a country, we produce this many engineers, 13 to 15 lakh engineers. the country needs around 5 to 6 lakh engineers. Okay, हमारे पास 5 या 6 लाख को एब्जॉर्ब करने की उतनी इंडस्ट्रीज इंडिया के पास है करंटली. सो आपको सो नेचुरली वी वुड फील कि बहुत कम जॉब के लिए बहुत सारे लोग होंगे, तो देन यू नो द इंडस्ट्री विल बी वेरी हैप्पी कि हाँ हमें तो इतना सारा स्किल रिसोर्स मिल रहा है, ह्यूमन रिसोर्स मिल रहा है. However, उससे उल्टा है. The point is that our companies are always crying and they are saying that we are not getting employable engineers. Industry is not able to find employable engineers and industry ends up recruiting almost 2 to 3 lakh. और बाकी 2 लाख का तो ऐसे ही वैकेंसी रहता है because it's just that they could not find right people. So that is a big problem. Out of 13 to 15 lakh, only 2 to 3 lakh are able to, find employability. Despite जगह होने के बावजूद, vacancy होने के बावजूद, right? So that is a big problem because उन्होंने see students ने how they prepared for probably in the entire school life and entire let's say 4 years of engineering, so for probably 16 years of formal education. All they have done is reproduction of some model response in timely manner. यहाँ का लिखा हुआ टेक्स्ट उसको बंद करके यहाँ पे reproduce किया. They just practice that skill, but they do not have sufficient knowledge and other skills which the industry needs, which the market will need, which okay in day-to-day life that will give them employment. वो नहीं आया. So that is the problem, and this happens across. It's not just for the engineering sector. You see the education. For example, I belong to education area. B.Ed वाले कितने सारे every year B.Ed graduate करके बाहर निकलते हैं, but when they go to the classroom, they are not prepared for the classroom. They cannot. उनको सुनने के लिए बच्चे भी नहीं ready होंगे. They do not have basic questioning skills. People do not have basic sort of class management skills, setting up induction. So many different skills that actually field needs. That's not there, and this is there in across different sectors. It's also there in you go to BCom students, BBA students, even MBA. MBA is supposed to be called professional degree. General management के लिए, specialized management के लिए students should be ready. However, often you find that students are not ready to take up the responsibilities, because what ends up happening is that उन्होंने यही practice किया है, reproduction of model response in timely manner. And to be frank, when that is the context, तो उसके लिए teaching क्या चाहिए आपको? Teaching for this is something that this Professor Sonal was doing. So she was conducting lectures, a lot of PowerPoints with all the content points talking about that. So see, lecture method is with all its flaws. People like to criticize this and that, but the point is ये ecology में learning the ecology that we have created, lecture method is the most efficient method to achieve success in this context. Okay, ये context में आपको syllabus खत्म करना है timely manner में. You have to cover all the content points. Okay, you have to clarify all the content points. So Professor Sonal जो कर रहे हैं, that is the best thing. She is also giving out notes. So if you see students का जो first step है for preparing for the exams, preparing a model response, वो तो professor ने करके दे दिया. तो आप भी experience करोगे कि कई students को ऐसे professors, ऐसे teachers बहुत अच्छे लगते हैं who give them notes. और कई प्रोफेसर्स, कई टीचर्स जो रेडीमेड नोट्स नहीं देते. इफ दे आस्क स्टूडेंट्स कि नहीं आप रेफरेंस मटेरियल खुद से पढ़ो, यू प्रिपेयर योर ओन नोट्स, तो ऐसे प्रोफेसर्स को स्टूडेंट्स पसंद नहीं करते कि यार ये बहुत काम करवाते हैं, राइट? दिस एंड्स अप हैपनिंग मेनली बिकॉज इतना स्पून फीडिंग का हैबिट हो गया है, राइट? सो व्हाट प्रोफेसर सोनल वाज डूइंग, इट वाज एक्चुअली स्पून फीडिंग बच्चों को. टू बी फ्रैंक, you're at higher education level. अभी हायर एजुकेशन में भी आपको नोट्स भी देना है, ये भी करना है, तो भी करना है, और बच्चों को सिर्फ वो रट्टा मार के एग्जाम में लिखना है. देन टू बी फ्रैंक, दैट इज नॉट बिल्डिंग एनी स्किल्स और नॉलेज. इवन though you get a really good score, but it is not going to prepare you for life. So that sort of spoon feeding does not work in students' long-term interest, right? Or वो फिर that is the kind of problem that in the current ecosystem of learning, जो टीचर्स को अप्रिशिएट करते स्टूडेंट्स, वो टीचर्स एक्चुअली ऐसा बिहेवियर स्पून फीडिंग करते हैं, राइट? सो दैट आल्सो नीड्स टू बी चेक्ड. सो व्हाट I think couple of you also mentioned here in the comment, and I think Gangbei sir ने भी जो बात की कि application based, so that needs to be looked into, paid more attention to. And to be frank, because the current system is the way it is, तो उसमें parents भी encourage करते हैं इस तरीके का memorization. And to be frank, even at the undergraduate graduate level, a private tutoring industry flourish हो रही है, coaching industry. And to be frank, उसको ध्यान से थोड़ा go into the depth, what is it that they are doing. So coaching industry या private tutoring actually, they give a lot of drill practice, and then they give you some model responses. Okay, तो वो दो चीजें वो लोग करते हैं, and that is what students need in order to get high score on this university or college exams, so they can easily graduate. So this is how the current system is set up. एजुकेशन का पूरा जो इकोलॉजी है, स्टूडेंट्स का लर्निंग इकोलॉजी इन हायर एजुकेशन सिस्टम, ये एक डोमिनेंट पैटर्न है. सो द चैलेंज इज फॉर अस, हम एजुकेटर्स के लिए चैलेंज है दैट हाउ कैन वी ब्रेक दिस काइंड ऑफ इकोसिस्टम वो जो बनी हुई है. तो नाउ एंड देन आल्सो जस्ट टू पॉइंट आउट that see problem abhi severe ho raha hai, right? It's even getting more sort of severe, especially in this pandemic era. And let me tell you why. See, because agar yahi chalta raha, then aapka aur mera hum sabka future sort of employment also will be under question. I'm not going to aapko dara nahi raha hu, I'm not going to scare you, but I'm also going to present you some possible reality. जैसे कि okay, so this we can talk about later. Okay, so let us consider this case of Mr. Roy. So Mr. Roy, he is just 30-year-old, and then he completed his master's from Cornell University. He works with Google, and he has this idea. He thinks that the current entire this higher education system is outdated, or he believes in e-college. Okay, e-college format में. So what he thinks that ये जो currently जो आप और मैं हम लोग सब कॉलेज जाते हैं, बच्चों को पढ़ाते हैं और इकड़म तिकड़म कुछ भी होता है, और वो at the end semester exams देते हैं, पास होते हैं और खत्म होता है, that's how they get the degree. Mr. Roy thinks कि इस सब की जरूरत नहीं है. इससे अच्छा students को आप let the students sign in or log in to e-college platform, और उसमें जैसे कि you can also have live sessions, but then he thinks कि ये ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म जिसमें सब तरीके का लर्निंग मटेरियल, उसका जो भी स्पेशलाइजेशन होगा वो होगा विथ फन एलिमेंट, एंड देन स्टोरी टेलिंग फॉर्मेट में भी, एंड देयर विल बी अ लॉट ऑफ टास्क एंड चैलेंजेस. इट्स काइंड ऑफ प्लेइंग अ गेम. आई हैव सीन सर्टेन प्लेटफॉर्म्स, जैसे कि मैंने एक प्लेटफॉर्म देखा था, इट वाज अबाउट सॉर्ट ऑफ इंजीनियरिंग, सॉर्ट ऑफ and structural engineering का एक प्लेटफॉर्म था. In that platform, I'll just briefly describe what that platform was about. So I hope most of you have watched movie Bahubali. ऐसा कोई है जिसने नहीं देखा? You raise your hand. Bahubali movie नहीं देखा ऐसा कोई? All right, so most of you watched Bahubali. So let's say इस प्लेटफॉर्म में क्या था? You are sort of playing this role of, let's say, Bahubali and the entire army of Bahubali. And then you and your friend Katappa, and then you have to build a bridge to go to the other side. और दूसरी side से Ballal Dev and this rival characters, the other rival team is also building a bridge. Now you have to make the bridge faster before they build. and then you have some resources, you have to design the bridge. So that's how you have to learn structural engineering. You have to apply this knowledge in order to construct the bridge within time limits. So that's what this platform was doing. It's kind of a game, but a learning game. इस तरीके से different modules students would go through. So they can also do a lot of peer learning, and there will be also, once they are stuck, they can also read on their own, they can take some tests, and then they can again apply in this game. But it's in a way, right away, students can get immediate feedback कि आपका design में problem है या नहीं है, या क्या problem है, all those things. तो सोचो कि इस तरीके का in-depth module for the entire syllabus, if it is prepared, okay, तो फिर बच्चे या स्टूडेंट्स उस तरीके के प्लेटफॉर्म को साइन अप क्यों नहीं करेंगे, एंड व्हाई विल दे कम टू द कॉलेज, और व्हाई विल दे इवन एनरोल देमसेल्व्स. करंटली वो लोग एनरोल शायद इसीलिए होते हैं बिकॉज दे गेट डिग्री, देयर इज सम वैलिडिटी. Imagine if tomorrow UGC, or let's say any of this higher education regulatory body, or even your state validates this kind of platform. और state खुद भी platform तो develop करते ही है, right? We have many state, for example, Swayam is one example. वो हमने we have developed, MHRD has developed. So if this sort of platforms get some validity, और उसको उस level का design किया है where students actually acquire skills and knowledge, so then why will they come to the university or college? Think about this carefully. And if they do not, so for 5 years down the line, why will college or universities hire faculty members? It's a challenge कि अगर बच्चे नहीं आ रहे, और if they do not need to come, so this needs to be thought through. हम सब एजुकेटर्स को इसके बारे में बहुत सीरियसली सोचना पड़ेगा. We cannot continue with the existing learning and teaching scenario. इस तरीके का superficial चलता रहेगा, so then colleges की जरूरत नहीं रहेगी. This sort of platforms, Mr. Roy जैसे बहुत से लोग हैं who are already knocking the door of the government, of the different states, who are already knocking doors of all the regulatory bodies, and then they are also trying to convince that they can do a much better job. So imagine अगर Mr. Roy को, let's say, engineering, online engineering college setup करना है, he just needs what, at the most 50 people, 50 employees, who can then cater to the entire India का engineering students. तो बाकी सब engineering faculties का जरूरत क्या पड़ेगा, right? So I'm not trying to scare anyone, but I am also, it is something that we all need to think about. And that is why the current teaching learning ecology, which is in a way preparing a lot of graduates without knowledge and skills, that is not sustainable, right? So I just wanted to point this out. So now the question is कि तो फिर हम, what can we do? What is it that we can collectively do? Because ये जो प्रोफेसर सोनल का मेथड था, उससे अच्छा तो मिस्टर रॉय का मेथड है. थिंक अबाउट इट. व्हाट डू यू थिंक? आपको क्या लगता है, प्रोफेसर सोनल का मेथड ज्यादा रेलेवेंट है या मिस्टर रॉय का, बच्चों के लॉन्ग टर्म, स्टूडेंट्स के लॉन्ग टर्म इंटरेस्ट के लिए? Anyone wants to comment? My voice is audible, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yes, so who wants to comment? I saw one hand by Deepak sir. Okay, in the chat, of course, I have received.
I am audible, sir.
Yes, sir, you are.
Sir, I think Mr. Roy का lecture ये अच्छा रहेगा. Sir, same case in the library. Now we have seen digital library everywhere. But traditional library has also has more important.
Yes. So that is what I'm emphasizing, that all these things are very dynamic. बहुत change हो रहा है. These things are transforming around us. So अगर हम लोग उसको change नहीं करेंगे, उसमें we don't change ourselves, then we could be outdated. I am hearing some noise, so I request कि mute करें, self mute. Okay. So करने जैसे कि library की बात
नंतर करता है ते
मिस सुनीता मैम प्लीज आप म्यूट करेंगे. वी ऑल कैन हियर यू. सुनीता मैम, सुनीता पाटिल मैम, या थैंक यू. सो लाइब्रेरी जिस तरीके, फॉर एग्जांपल इन द करंट सिचुएशन, लाइब्रेरी नीड्स टू बी थॉट एज लर्निंग स्पेस. एक लर्निंग स्पेस के तरीके से उसको सोचने की जरूरत है, एज वेल एज इंस्टीट्यूशनल रिपोजिटरी. इट कैनॉट बी ओनली फॉर चुप होके बैठो, जो भी पढ़ना है पढ़ो, निकल लो. That model is now outdated, right? Because things are available digitally, so then people don't need to come to the library. Then why will they come to library, right? But still, in the West, in the developed world, or in the top research universities, you go and see, okay, libraries are widely used. Why? Because they have reconfigured entire library. वहाँ पे library का मतलब ये नहीं कि book लेके जाओ और वापस आ जाओ. वहाँ पे library का meaning है, it's a learning space. It provides a space where you can sit, you can work. If you want to eat, you eat. If you want to sleep, you sleep. But it is providing you environment which is conducive to high quality learning. जहाँ पे इंटरनेट बैंडविड्थ बहुत ज्यादा मिलेगा, दुनिया भर का रिसोर्सेस मिलेगा, एकेडमिक सोर्सेस मिलेंगे, right? Everything will be available. But so library provides that sort of space, and that's what also we need to think. But the point is, broadly everything around us, when everything is changing, so हमें भी change करना पड़ेगा. So I'll quickly now point out, okay, हम लोग, for example at IIM, how we make sense of all of this, और हम कैसे process करते हैं, and how, let's say, we also change some of the other sort of teaching learning practices. So broadly, and this is not specific to IIM, okay? ये काफी अच्छे institutes में already लोग करते हैं. Maybe आप भी, you also must have experimented a little bit, but still it's important to discuss. जैसे कि learning experience at IIM Ahmedabad, if I can talk about, so what is different? So first of all, we have kind of some clarity कि हमें किस तरीके के student outcomes चाहिए. What kind of student outcomes do we want? What do we want them to prepare for? Okay, so हम लोग अभी, we are not thinking about university exam scores. That can be important, but उसके अलावा, their employability, the skill set is really important. So then we focus on many of these things. For example, in-depth understanding of all sort of business, sort of general management fields. So it can include all sorts of different fields. But then this in-depth understanding for multiple perspectives need to be there. Very strong analytic as well as synthesis skills. Okay, strong decision making skill, to be frank, as managers, as corporate heads, or as in management, you have to take a lot of decisions, but you need to know how to take decisions. These decisions cannot be intuitively, ऐसा नहीं होता कि हाँ दिल में किया और ले लिया, नहीं. These are high stake decisions. Your decision can influence hundreds of people, thousands of people, not just your organization, but many other organizations, not just the economy. It can be also, that it can have social repercussions. So decision lena is also is something that one has to learn. So that is there. Of course, leadership skills and strong communication skills. So there are a lot of important outcomes that we focus on. So once we understand, once we have clarity about what sort of outcomes we are interested in, then we can think about what sort of learning design that we want to have. And also this is linked with our institutional purpose. IIM बना के रखने की जरूरत ही क्या हुई थी? Why was even IIM created, right? So there is a context to it, that देश आजाद हो गया है ना, in 1947 we got independence, but then we were politically independent. Economically, we were not independent. And then we realized that for economic independence, we need to industrialize. Our industrialization cannot happen without human resource, which is capable enough to run these large corporations. So management fields का expertise, human resource develop करना, people who can take decisions for big organizations, you need that human resource. और वो human resource develop करने के लिए you need institutions. So that was the rationale for having institutions like IIM, and not just in Ahmedabad, but many other IIMs. Similarly, IITs for technical know-how of the country. So with that purpose and this focus on this sort of skills, then we can design कि अभी if 2 साल के बाद हमारा students उस level पे ready होना चाहिए, if that is what we want, then what sort of this 2 years experience is important. So then we think about it. For example, so when let's say students here, when they are studying, so they are not really reading or then reproducing some response in timely manner. That is not what they are doing. Of course, in some subjects that is also important, okay, but in mostly what our students end up spending their time is Sudhakar sir, we all can hear you. Sudhakar sir, if I can request you to unmute. Dr. Sudhakar. Okay, so when our students are studying, they are practicing, they are preparing a lot of case notes. Cases are basically, you are now this decision maker, you are now this CEO, you are now this institution head, you are now this person, this consultant, and you have to take decisions. So you have to prepare a lot of case notes. And then you have to engage with a lot of multiple stakeholders because okay, I am hearing a lot of noise from can we mute Dr. Sudhakar? Dr. Sudhakar गिर है, हम सब आपका voice सुन रहे हैं. Can you please mute yourself? Oh, thank you. So then students
प्लीज वीडियो भी बंद करने को बोल दीजिए उनका.
Okay, he can hear. So yeah, I think. Okay, can you hear me? I can be heard, right? Okay, so let us continue with it. So students also need to understand a lot of multiple perspectives. For example, सिर्फ CEO का perspective से decision नहीं होता. You also have to understand the clients, your employees. You have to also understand your broader society, community. बहुत से perspectives होते हैं. And then sometimes in the field, problems are not given. You have to identify the problem. For example, currently, जो Professor Sonal का case था, उसमें मैंने नहीं बोला था कि ये problem है. You have to understand कि problem क्या है, right? So that you also identify from the case itself. So that is important. And then finally, students have to practice a lot of decision making. So a lot of decisions need to be taken. So they practice. 2 साल तक उनको rigorous इसका training मिलता है इसके लिए, and within this 2 years, because every day for let's say 8 hours, 10 hours, this is what they end up doing. So after 2 years, then they are ready for the role of a corporate leader or a business leader or a management leader or let's say in any of the fields, a leadership position. Because there's 2 years, this is what they spend their time on, practicing all these different skills. So as part of assessment, so हमारे यहाँ assessment practices also includes a lot of reflection papers. They have to reflect a lot on what they are learning, how they are learning. As I mentioned, they prepare a lot of case notes, a lot of presentations, where they have to also demonstrate mastery of the concept that they learned. We often, require a lot of field projects. So we can also talk with the different stakeholders. कि उनका काम क्या है, कैसा हमारे students का काम कैसा रहा. That also we can know from that. And then for this, our teaching practices also need to be changed. So now, if this is what I want my students to do, I cannot just come to the class and cover content point by point. Now I have to use case study methods. I have to use storytelling methods. I have to generate discussions because I want them to practice decision making. So in the class also, I present situations, scenarios where they have to critically think and critically debate and then understand from their peers. कि हाँ, why you are thinking that way and why I am thinking that way and what is the best decision? What should be done? So these debates need to be happen in the classroom. So role of a faculty member is very different now. It is a kind of facilitator, lead facilitator, lead moderator, where my role is to generate a lot of rich, high quality debates in the class and generate a lot of discussions. And then of course, many other things. So, but now you understand, okay, in this context, your teaching practices need to be changed because your ultimate goal is to prepare students for this sort of position, this sort of role. And so 2 साल तक उनको you grind them, उनको बहुत उसको निचोड़ कर उसको उसके लिए prepare करो for that to generate this sort of high skill set. Okay. That's the sort of broader objective, and this is the learning ecology that we have developed within the institute. So now for your institutes, I know, yeah, we are sort of also covered. We also want to have some time for discussion. So that's why I now want you to think about this. So I just gave our example. If you want, I'll also share, let's say, our sort of syllabus. So जैसे कि मैंने अपने कोर्स के लिए जो syllabus बनाया है, I'll be also sharing with you. I can also go through in a while. But for your program, for your institute, this is what you can also do. Okay, first step is to have clarity. What sort of learning goals, learning objectives you want your students to have. University exam score is also important. Yes, I'm not denying that वो important नहीं, वो भी important है, बस उसके अलावा उसका let's say employability भी important है. उसके लिए what are the skills needed? Let's say अगर BCom student है, okay, BCom 3rd year finish किया है, so what are the knowledges and skills that student should have? You should have clarity about this. आपको आपके और भी faculty members of your institute should have these discussions. Okay, what is it that we want to prepare our students for? अगर आपका B.Ed program है, if you are preparing teachers, you should have clarity about it. And how can we strengthen classroom management of our classroom management skills of our students? How can we strengthen, let's say, questioning skills, या फिर narration skills, explanation skills, storytelling, relevant examples, all of that. If it is in sort of arts, liberal arts course है, तो उसमें भी you and your colleagues need to think through it. Let's say economics का graduate का what are the skill sets, for political science what are the skill sets which are needed, and that that focus will prepare students. See, students का तो क्या है, it depends on the context. Okay, sometimes ये भी argument आता है कि हम कुछ भी कर ले, बच्चे तो जो करते अरे ऐसा कुछ केस में होता है. But to be frank, I'll give you a very sort of short story. Okay, in one class, there were 100 students, all right, and there was one policy. If anybody sort of copies, will be directly given death penalty. Okay, extreme sort of policy. So at the end of this test administration, out of 100, 95 did not copy, but there were 5 students who still managed to copy. और उनके answers identical निकले, and then they were everybody shocked कि इतना severe बोला था फिर भी ये 5 लोग ने copy किया. Again, the researchers did another experiment, और जिसमें the same class को, same class of 100 students, another exam was administered, and then now the policy was that everybody can copy, जितना copy करना है करो आराम से, कोई problem नहीं है, so there is no punishment. Everybody is allowed to. आपको book लेके बैठना है, book, you sit with the book, everything is fine. If you want to call during the exam, that's also fine. However, 95 students copied, but 5 लोग ऐसे थे who did not copy. उनको आता था उतना लिखा, नहीं आता था नहीं लिखा, निकल लिए. See, this 5% on this side, 5% on this side. This you cannot do much because their behavior is kind of fixed. They will do what they want to do. Okay, तो ऐसे तो होंगे. However, the interesting case is the middle 90. So middle 90 will change their behavior depending upon the system that you design. You and your colleagues that you design, उसके accordingly वो खुद का behavior change करेंगे. तो टेस्ट में चीटिंग अलाउ नहीं करोगे तो वो नहीं करेंगे, अलाउ करोगे तो वो करेंगे. अगर उसको हाई क्वालिटी का एक्सपेक्टेशन रखोगे तो वो करने लगेंगे. अगर उसको करेंगे नहीं 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 इतना रट्टा मार के निकल लो तो वो वही करेंगे, राइट. अगर उसको पीएचडी थीसिस में इफ यू पुश देम टू डू सम ओरिजिनल वर्क, do rigorous study, they'll do that. अगर उसको बोलो कि नहीं नहीं ये अगले साल का है थीसिस, उसका कॉपी मार ले, right? So that's what they'll do. So that is the interesting thing, that as educators we can influence this middle 90 whose response, whose learning will depend upon the system that you and I we can design. So that's what you need to do with your colleagues of your department and your college. Okay, what sort of human resource you want to develop, and उसके लिए the step 2 is to prepare this sort of logic model. Actually आपकी कॉलेज के आपके डिपार्टमेंट के जब स्टूडेंट्स पढ़ रहे हैं, when they are studying, when they are learning, what is it that you want them to do? उसके बारे में think through this. Exactly what sort of behaviors you want them to do, and then how will you assess those behaviors, right? And then if those are the behaviors that you want, what sort of teaching practice will be needed? इसके बारे में आपको सोचने की जरूरत काफी है. And then not just you, for your own self, this is something that you can discuss with your colleagues of your department, and then your department and your institute, your college will also have sort of very effective learning ecology for students, you know, where they can also, students will also realize now everything is making sense, you know, because this is consistent with our career objectives as well. This is preparing me for life. This is not just ऐसे ही रट्टाबाजी करके मैं मार्क्स नहीं ला रहा. I'm getting valuable education which is going beyond this, which is actually relevant for my life. So they'll also find meaning out of it. And that is the bigger sort of vacuum, that our students, they don't have meaning. So this will help them find meaning of their actions as well. So with that, I want to sort of stop talking at this point and listen to you. आप क्या सोचते हैं? What are your thoughts? What are your comments? What are your questions? What are you experiencing? And जो भी हमने बात की वो relevant लगती है, नहीं लगती? What are your thoughts? Anybody can begin. We have almost 93 people. Yeah, I'm now waiting for your voice. Yeah, thank you for the comments. I read a lot of comments in the chat. I understand कि ये काफी relevant था because you know, and I will also share the presentation with the
Hello, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, what happened? I heard hello, but after that I could not hear. Anybody wants to share any thoughts, anything about the discussions that we had? Thank you so much for your kind comments. Yes, Deepak sir.
Sir, Mantha Padma, this is Mantha Padma, sir.
Okay, yeah, ma'am.
You have given a very good example, sir, regarding the students, about the 90% as well as the 5 plus 5, 10%. So the students who belong to that 5%, they have their own thought processing. So they do not depend upon the teacher much. They have their own conclusions, what I feel. And regarding the 90 students, they completely depend on the teacher. So what I feel is the teacher should be more efficient to teach those students. Otherwise, the students' future will be in danger. That is what I feel, sir. Maybe I'm correct or wrong, I do not know, but this is what I feel.
No, that is
These
very
90 students are completely dependent on the teacher. They are like puppets. Whatever the teacher say, they listen to her, they do imitate her. They learn the things what the teacher teaches. So the teacher should be more efficient for teaching those students. That's what I feel. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Yeah, so that's why we have to be very mindful when we design this entire learning ecology for students. Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Hello, sir. This is Harish, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I want to say something. Sir, what you said or what you have mentioned, the case studies and whatever the games we supposed to use in the classroom teaching. Sir, while teaching practical
Anuja ma'am, can I request you to please mute because we cannot hear Harish sir. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes, Harish sir.
Okay, sir. While handling these practical papers or problem-oriented papers, we could not able to do all these things, sir, because student expects more problem and how we can give a simple method to get the solution, and they wanted to master in that particular subject, and with that they can enhance their technical knowledge and so on. I think some paper like business management or human resource management, in such area it suits, sir, what you have suggested, like case study, business games, and field visit. That kind of techniques, it suits for theory paper, not for a problem. I think so. It's my opinion.
Okay, so yes, because I took example from this management institute, but then to be frank, see, if we talk about case study method, that is a different thing. But then in engineering, it has a lot of applications. So engineering, the previous projects can be used as a case, and then what went right with the project, what went wrong with the project, and that itself can generate a lot of learning, right? So and a lot of experimental methods, you have direct applications in the science fields. So yes, certainly, of course, depending upon your area or your subject, different methods can be used. But then those methods will also, my focus is that let us understand this entire ecology. That what is it that we want to prepare our students for? What is it that the students should do when they are in the program? Okay, how they are being prepared for this role at the end of the program? How are we assessing that they are spending their time on the things that we want them to spend on their time on, and then how we are designing that program? So all these things need to be consistent, and we as an educators need to think through all of this. Currently what is happening, that we are too much into our one syllabus and one course, and we are not thinking this bigger sort of experience that students go through during that 3 year or 4 year of program. And that is what I actually wanted to bring your attention to. But let us think about कि ये करते क्या है in this 2-3 years, and then how are they preparing themselves, and what are we preparing themselves for?
Fine, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Anybody else wants to add anything to this? So I think I can.
Prabhakar Gaikwad, sir.
I
Gaikwad,
think.
sir. Do you want to ask any question?
Do you want to ask any question?
Please keep your video off, please, and mic
Please
mute.
keep your.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathan Shukla, sir. First of all, I would like to give my hearty vote of thanks to our most distinguished and resource person, Dr. Kathan Shukla, sir, for gracing today's session. I would like to thank him for making an excellent presentation and making this session very meaningful and interesting. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your thought-provoking and interesting address. I would like to also thank team members of UGC HRDC for their cooperation in the institution of this online short-term course. And finally, I would like to thank wonderful participants who have turned up in such a great number, not only from Gujarat, rather also from other states of India. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Once again, I thank you for your cordial cooperation. Thank you very much. And now we are going to end this session. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, everyone, and then wishing you all the very best to implement the things that this. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Shukla.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you,
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
थैंक यू सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच। आज का सेशन हमारे लिए बहुत ही अच्छा रहा।
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful feedback with us.